Welcome to the Autosportradio.com 2017 show, presented as always by Honda and Honda HPD, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and the Verizon IndyCar Series. Founded in 1993 to spearhead Honda's entry into IndyCar racing, Honda Performance Development has overseen successful racing efforts at all levels of the sport, from karting and quarter midgets to IndyCar and prototype sports cars. HPD offers race engines and competition products for professional, amateur, and entry-level racers. For more information about HPD and the company's racing product lines, please visit hpd.honda.com. That's hpd.honda.com. And we have a guest in the house tonight. I want to acknowledge him. He is a senator from this area. Senator Mike Young is joining us. Welcome him here. In case you hadn't heard some sad news, Don Smith, the former president of First National Bank of Terre Haute and a huge supporter of open wheel racing in the Terre Haute Action Track, passed away late last week. How many watched the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama? How many loved it? Okay, good race. Next week, my first scheduled guest at this moment is Jack Harvey, who will be driving for Michael Shank Racing. It's something that Michael has been wanting to do, and he put a program together, and he will be, and Jack should be here next week. For action at the Speedrome, it's picking up. They're really doing some good things out there. Saturday the 29th, they got late model 25-lap feature on the oval and a 50-lap figure 8, plus several other series that are running there. And then on Sunday the 29th, the one Friday or Saturday starts at 7. On Sunday the 29th, it starts at 2 o'clock. And there'll be junior fast karts and figure 8. And the Mel Kenyon Midget Series will be there. So if you're interested and want to go out and see some good racing at the Speedrome, it's up and running and going well again. All race fans, we have a unique opportunity for everyone. The Gordon Pipers, our terrific group, have been exceptionally loyal in their support of our veterans since the beginning of their work. You have seen and heard them leading our heroes into the coming in full regalia, sounding fantastic with their bagpipes, drums for the last 5 years. Now, as an exclusive to Indy Honor Flight, the Gordon Pipers have offered to allow a single lucky fan to spend the day with them at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on Armed Forces Pole Day, Sunday, May 21st. Probably the most exciting day in May, with the exception of the race itself. Not only can you be there and support our military veterans on this special day, you will have access to the Gordon Pipers, receive while they do what they can do, and they do the best. How do you win? It's simple. You make a donation. You make a private bid, and the winner will get to spend the day with the Indiana Heroes and the Gordon Pipers. If you're interested, you can make a call or send an email to here it is, CIMA, CIMA19 at AOL.com. That's Jersey Johnny, or you can call him at 317-450-4452. Get in on it, make a bid. It'll help, and all the money goes to support the Indiana Honor Flight. And you don't want to forget, get to the museum. The A.J. Foyt exhibit is up. It'll be there until October. Well, thank you. She gave me a hanky. I guess something. Oh, yeah, I did see this. Willie Davis passed away April 16th. There will be a memorial celebration at the Brickyard Crossing the 24th on a Wednesday in the afternoon. So those who knew and loved Willie Davis, and he was quite a guy. Sorry to see him pass away. Now, my first guest is a gentleman that I found out over the years, if you don't want to know the answer to the question, don't ask it. But I always like to hear it, so I ask it, and he answers it. He has spent 20 years of his life in racing. He won championships in Europe, got to Formula One very quickly, moved on from Formula One came over here to IndyCar. And he said the biggest thing that he can offer young drivers is, since he made all the mistakes, he knows how to avoid them. But for a guy who made a lot of mistakes, he did an awful good job. He's been with Wish TV since the 1990s. He is a lecturer, with a motivational speaker. He travels the country and the world, for that matter. and is a successful author, and by golly, he's got another book that just came out. It's always fun to have him here. His kid is doing all right, too. Can't forget that. Please welcome Mr. Daerek Daly.
Thank you.
With all that you do, all the traveling, all the I mean, I text you and I'm in Minnesota. I text you I can't make it, I'm in Sheboygan or something. How in the world do you take time to write a book?
Well, it takes longer than normal. But this book is it's a bit like the last one. The last one was a passion. When Connor came through the junior series of karting and Pro Mazda and Indy Lights, and he was successful and won, I think, just about every championship that he went into. And I had moms and dads ask me, well, you know, how does my son or my daughter try and follow something like that? And unlike stick and ball sports, there isn't a structure in motor racing. Like in stick and ball sports, there's, you know, scholarships and colleges and pro drafts and all the money and all the facilities. It doesn't exist in our sport. And I had access to all of the information, which is why I wrote the first book. This one, which is called A Champion's Path, this is not directed to the motorsports world as such. It's more the corporate world. Because during television broadcasting, I would get asked to speak about the sport in general. And I began to do more and more. And then I began to get requests from corporations to explain the concept of why the successful teams in our sport are able to sustain that success, no matter what team managers, what drivers, what regulations. And so I began to get curious as to why someone like a Roger Penske had such a successful team. And I had access to all the good players, all the success stories again. And when I began to ask them, what's the difference? It began to formulate for me what winning and sustained success looks like in our sport, and how easy it is to show corporate America, if you followed our model of motorsports and put that into the fabric of your corporation, you could actually energize your people to grow and to stretch themselves and be better than they've ever been before. And of course, a better you makes a better us within a corporation. That's what spawned this book, some of the high performance principles of the great success stories that we know of in our sport.
And it's amazing, you know, I've read and heard you talk about that, the connection between the two. Although motor racing is a sport, you have to do things in a proper way, the same way you do with any company, corporation, and it translates. Thus, you have the motivational speaking tour that you do. That
right, and I do about 35 events a year. And it's an easy connection for me to make, because let's take the NFL. I mean, if you contrast our sport, motor racing, versus any stick and ball sport, let's say the NFL. We had Peyton Manning here for 14 years, right? And he was renowned for his level of preparation. And he would read the playbook, and he would prepare at the highest possible levels. Now, if he had an off week, and if he didn't prepare well, and if he threw a bad pass, what might he lose? A down. Or the very worst, he might lose a game. In our sport, you have poor preparation at 225 miles an hour into turn one at Indy. Do you see how much more critical it is for us? Because I mean, drivers' lives depend on the good preparation. But I also say to people in the NFL, on any given Sunday, 50% of all the teams win. In our sport, there's only one team, because you play against everybody every Sunday. And so again, it's a much higher pyramid. The pointy end of the pyramid is much sharper, because you have to beat every team, every driver, every weekend. And so it's an easy connection for me to say, if I explain that to people, because they all understand the NFL, and I'll say, would you like to understand how our sport operates? And of course, what they say, yes. And it's a sport of exacting human performance that operates under pressure in a compressed time frame. And when I tell corporations that that's the backbone of our business, our sport, they say, well, my business is beginning to go like that, because all of our businesses get faster and faster, more is expected. And it's not going to slow down in the next decade. So the speed of our business, the exacting human performance of our business, is just such a perfect model for corporate America to follow, and hence I captured some of the high performance principles in this very easy to read book. It's only 60 pages, so it's a very quick, easy to read book for corporate, the corporate world.
You know, I have said 15,000 times probably that of all the sports, I think motorsports in particular is the ultimate team sport. Everybody has to do their job. Now, there's one guy steering the car, but if somebody doesn't do their job right, that guy steering the car could be in trouble.
And the interesting thing about our sport, you can't hide anything. If anybody does a bad job, it is so evident on the racetrack in the results. And the beauty of our sport is you get your result sheet, your report card every Sunday afternoon. So you know exactly how you operate your business, and you cannot hide anything. It's such an emotionally driven sport. I mean, I talk to corporations and they say, well, how do we motivate our people? We pay them well. I said, believe it or not, emotional rewards can be more valuable than financial rewards for people. And that's what you get in our sport. The emotional reward the mechanics get, and all the fabricators and all the people who work to build that car, when it goes out and it makes it to the victory podium, the emotional rewards of your work helping that team, that driver, sometimes is more powerful than the financial rewards. And that's something corporate America has very little understanding of, how to emotionally reward and award their people, their team of people.
You know, there's something about this sport, and I'm not sure what it is, because, you know, I should have packed it in a long time ago, but there's something about it that grabs you. The teamwork, the speed, the enthusiasm, the fans that come that appreciate and understand, the broadcasters.
Mm-hmm.
If people don't think that a broadcaster is important to IndyCar, they're crazy. And you've won a lot of awards for your broadcasting. Do you get as excited? Are you?
Absolutely.
Broadcasting?
People ask me for years. I stopped racing in early '92. And people say, did you ever miss it? I never missed it for a day. Now, Ari Leyendijk missed it and he came back. Mark Donoghue missed it, he came back. Other drivers have come back. I never missed it because I was already in television broadcasting. When I got hurt in '84, I did an interview with ESPN. That turned into a 10-year contract. So suddenly I was being paid as a broadcaster while I'm trying to get back to racing. I got back to racing and I was doing television and racing at the same time. But when I stopped, my void was already filled. And in live television broadcasts, I would have a heartbeat and an adrenaline rush, almost like I was in the car. And I actually think that contributed to almost a passion or an enthusiasm that I think came through on the broadcasts, because I got on very well for more than 20 years as a television broadcaster. I had a lot of fun.
And you're still on Wish TV.
I'm 29 years this year on Wish TV, which is remarkable for me, because particularly at Wish TV, because it's a revolving door, people only last a couple of years there. I say to Anthony Calhoun, AC, I said, you better be careful and you better suck up to me, because I have a lot of power here.
You came from Formula One, and you said the last time, you said before, obviously, that you got there very quickly, within a very short period of time. But when you came in, it seems to me a lot hasn't really changed. At the time you came in, they had to build cars, and they still do. Each team has to build their own car, do all their own parts. The only thing they can buy is an engine. And it's still the same today, is it not?
Formula One is very much the same today. Because of the Constructors' Championship, you have to design and build your own car, separate from everybody else. And it's part of what's unique about Formula One. So Mercedes take pride in designing and building their own car, their own engine, their own gearbox, painted silver, just like the cars and all the historical photographs of Mercedes, and Ferrari is the same. And they wouldn't want to go to battle against their showroom competitors without the knowledge and being proud of the fact that they designed and built everything. And it's part of why they use Formula One. Formula One is used as an image creation tool, and it's used to make a statement. Mercedes' statement is, our technology, our designers, our engineers, our team of people can take on any showroom competitor in the world and show that we are the best of the best. And it's hard to argue the fact that that's what they've done. Incidentally, last year, Mercedes had record global sales, and their biggest marketing platform is motor racing. Ferrari right now are having record global sales. Their largest marketing platform is their Formula One team. So on a global reach, you can't actually get a sport that has such a global reach like Formula One, which is why it's such a powerful platform.
Do you think IndyCar will ever get to a position and have the funds where they, Formula One's got budgets $200-400 million. You could build a car for that. But IndyCar is looking 5, 6, 8 million. Do you think they'll ever get to a position where they could afford to build their own cars?
I don't think so, but I'd love to see it. I think the heyday of IndyCar was when we had all sorts of different cars turned up and all sorts of freedom of design, and engineers and mechanics and talented fabricators could have an idea in their head and produce it and go and race. The difficulty now is, if you had that amount of freedom, Roger Penske could probably write a check that will outstrip anybody's design feature. But I still would love to see some element of engineering, design, freedom creep back in, because I think that's part of the intrigue of what was here for IndyCar. But it'll never be Formula One, because it's a different model. It is a domestic series that happens to have the biggest racing event in the world. So it has its own magic, but it'll never be a global championship, and it's never meant to be. And we don't really want it to be a global championship.
Do you think Fernando Alonso coming here will be a boost in attendance? You think people will come from Europe to watch him? Because
there will be a bigger global television audience for this year's Indy 500, bigger than any time in the last 20 years, without a doubt. Everybody I know in Europe is talking about it. Everybody across the world is talking about it. Everybody's going to tune in every single day to see what Alonso is doing. He's that big a name. He is arguably either the best or the second best racing driver in the world today, currently. He is that good.
2-time world champion, 3-time runner-up. Yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
that's pretty decent.
My hope is that our guys kick his ass and send him home without the trophy.
I think I got to think at Barber this past weekend, he did more interviews, talked to more people, signed more autographs than he's done in his entire career, all in 2 days.
As he says when he's in the Formula One paddock, nobody talks to anybody. So he got plenty of practice here. It was remarkable to see him get that ingrained. And I think that just shows the commitment that he has, because he doesn't want to come over here and be embarrassed. So there's an awful lot to learn, because remember, since we all now run the same car, and the engineers have moved from team to team over the last 5 or 6, 8 years, the setups, a lot of the good fast setups are known by a fair number of the teams. So that means the window to be competitive got smaller. So now to be on the mark, he's got to be in a much smaller window, which is going to make it much more difficult for him.
You think the president of McLaren had anything to do, any influence with saying, sure, we'll put Jason Button in the car, you go on over there? I just forgot.
You mean Zach Brown?
Yeah.
Oh, without a doubt, Zach Brown had influence in this. If Ron Dennis, my former team manager, if Ron Dennis still ran McLaren, there's no way Alonso would be here. Absolutely no way. He'd say you cannot take any focus off Formula One, what you're doing here. So it took Zach Brown, who's from Zionsville, to assist in making this happen.
And I think it's great.
I think it is too. Yeah.
Another one I think that is good is coming in, and I've scheduled his driver is Michael Shank.
Yeah.
Coming in, getting something he's wanted to do for years. He almost did about 5 years ago, and he couldn't get an engine program. Now he's got it. He's coming in. He's bringing Jack Harvey. He's a good driver.
Jack Harvey is an exceptional driver. I've seen him win the British Formula 3 Championship. He was teammates to Connor in GP3 in his last year. I don't know when that was, whenever it was, but Jack is an exceptional driver, really good.
And of course, how can we turn our head? The 33rd car that's been entered, Buddy Lazier. And he said, well, that's our MO. Last but not least, he has entered.
I didn't hear that. He did enter?
Yeah. And for those who didn't pay much attention, his son Flynn made his debut. He's got one race deal. He did fairly well. He put the car back on the trailer, same way he put it off.
Good.
I think he started.
That's
18th.
what Alonso's hoping to do.
Yeah. I think he started 18th and finished 12th. I think almost both times, but he did well. So there's young talent.
It's time he replaced his dad in the IndyCar.
Yeah, well, I think that's the whole
How old's
idea.
his dad? Is he in his 60s?
No, not yet.
I'm only kidding.
Not yet. He's 50s, I think, 50 or 50 something.
70?
No, I'm 70. He's much younger than I. What do you see in IndyCar racing? Do you think it's on the right path? I mean, now your son is driving for arguably the greatest driver in the history of the sport, but do you think IndyCar has got what it takes to be successful?
Yes, as long as Joseph Newgarden kicks everybody's ass as soon as possible, because he's American. Now, nobody in Europe or the rest of the world cares about Joseph Newgarden. They care about Alonso. Everybody in Spain is going to be tuned in to see Alonso. Why? Because that's national pride. That's who they care about. And so if IndyCar is to grow in America, it absolutely has to be dominated again by the American flag. And if Joseph Newgarden can do it, great. Rahal, Marco, Connor, Spencer Pigot, there's a great groundswell of young talent coming into the sport now at a time when NASCAR just lost Gordon, Tony Stewart, Dale Earnhardt Jr. They're going through what IndyCar started to go through about 15 years ago, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Yeah, so yes, IndyCar will grow as long as the Americans have more and more success. What we don't want is to have European guys come over, beat everybody, take the trophies, take the money, because yeah, it's nice, and I was part of that group that came over, but it erodes the credibility of the championship. People think this isn't worth coming over to do anymore. We need to build that credibility back, because when you build that credibility, you build the intrigue. Build the intrigue, add human drama stories. Add human drama stories, you add television interest. Television interest fuels more media interest. And then it sort of keeps the wheel rotating. I love the competition from the rest of the world, but I really need our guys to kick their ass. Anybody agree with that? Yeah. Right? You know why they agree? Because that's local pride, what we're talking about here. Because if a guy from Noblesville could do it, great, even better. We'd all be here, pack this place, cheering. And then it goes to national level. And that's what Europe has. That's what Formula One has in spades. There's 25,000 people extra go to Silverstone every year just to watch Lewis Hamilton and Jenson Button. Why? Because they're British. That's who they cheer for. Same happens in Germany with Schumacher and all those years ago. Same happens in Spain with Alonso. Same happens in America. I don't think enough people understand that, but the same happens here. It's all great sports franchises are driven by the star athletes and the national pride wrapped around them. We admire the great athletes that come from the rest of the world. We respect them, but we don't care about them. We don't care about Scott Dixon, believe it or not. They love him in New Zealand. We don't care about Takuma Sato. We respect him, but the Japanese passionately care about him. When he won Long Beach 3 years ago, he had to fly back to Japan because he was front page headlines in every newspaper and every television station. We didn't care. But for all the right reasons we didn't care. But when our guy wins, now we care. Now we're more passionate. Now we'll buy more T-shirts. That's why AJ Foyt was so successful and people are passionate, still passionate today about Foyt. And Andretti and Rutherford and Mears and all those people. We just got to build that groundswell again.
Is Connor in the right place for his career at this point?
Well, yes, because he's in a racing car.
I
If you ask, is he in the right place with Foyt? Absolutely not. No, he is. He is. I tease Foyt all the time. I say he's one of the most belligerent, cantankerous legends of our sport. Don't you think? Absolutely is. Connor's in the perfect place. Foyt likes him. They're building the team. Now, in Birmingham, I think he had his best ever race. But nobody hardly saw what went on. But I know what went on. And he had one of his best ever races. I told him, you just keep doing what you need to do, and you're going to develop, and somebody's going to see it, and you're going to, the Foyt team's going to either grow with you, or at a certain time you might get another opportunity. But he's in a great place. He is.
Even though you assessed AJ correctly, he has, if you know him really well, what you see publicly is one thing. If you know him and how he cares for his friends and so forth, it's a different guy.
Yeah.
But nobody knows that.
Right.
Because he doesn't want him to know. He just wants him to see it.
Right. Yeah. He just had stem cell surgery or some sort of experimental something. Yeah, on his feet. He calls it brain surgery because it was on his feet. Can you imagine having a clone of Foyt someday?
I don't think so, but it is what it is.
He's a great guy, though.
What are you happy with the direction? Do you think that the series is making the right moves, getting rid of the $5, $6, $7, $8 million aero kit development for standardized, so that an engine manufacturer will come in? And I understand there's one right at the door. Ford backed out, which I was sorry as heck to see.
So why did you say $5, $6, $7 million aero kit?
Well, I don't know how much they spent for it. I mean, they didn't tell me. I said, did you spend 5 or more? Yeah.
So if I told you one of the manufacturers spent more than 70 million,
I believe it.
Amazing. That was the type of money that was invested by one of the manufacturers, and then it was all suddenly thrown away. Again, you're back to standardized cars. Spec cars don't work. NASCAR tried spec cars 5 years ago with the COT, Car of Tomorrow. There was outrage. People thought they didn't want to watch. And so they very quickly reacted and went back to non-Car of Tomorrow designs. But spec car racing in general is never successful.
It concerns me that they're all the same. There's nowhere, as you pointed out early on, there's got to be somewhere in the car for these engineers you got on the payroll to do something.
Yeah.
And they've got little tiny areas that they can work on. Whoopee.
Yeah, and I'm not saying they can do anything drastically different now, but historically, spec car racing, when everybody has the same thing, yes, it's got parity. Parity never works in sport. If we had parity in NASCAR, you'd never have had King Richard or Dale Earnhardt. If we had parity in IndyCar, you'd never have had Foyt or Mario or... Because, Mears, because they always worked to have an unfair advantage, and the best guys had the best cars, and they became huge star names.
Yeah, but they were able, the engineers were able, there's an engineer sitting here, and he'd love to be able to say, I work on a car, and I can design, and I can do it, but you can't do it. Take away the
right,
fun.
at the moment you can't do it. Yeah.
Do you think that could change?
I don't know. But I'd like to see it change. I'd like to see certain areas opened up. Now, if certain areas were opened up, would Roger Penske have an advantage? Yes. If the certain areas weren't opened up, would Roger Penske have an advantage? Yes. He will always run the best team because he understands how to drive people and outthink the competition on and off the track, which is part of what I put in my book here. So don't be worried that one team will dominate if you give freedom to the engineers, because I still think it builds intrigue that we don't have today.
One thing I think that's interesting to me watching with the spec cars and so forth is a team like Dale Coyne can do well.
Yeah.
He's a small team, small dollars. He's got to get out and hustle and sell Sonny's Barbecue so he can keep one of his cars on the track. And he's done well. He's got good people with him now.
Absolutely.
And I
Yeah.
think, he's making some of these guys scratch their heads and say, what are we doing wrong that he isn't? And I think it's great.
Right, which proves you align the skills of the right people with the right equipment on the right day, you can be successful. Now, whether he can sustain the success or not is the key magic, because Penske is the type of team, and Ganassi, they can sustain the success. There's a reason why they have sustained success, and a lot of it's to do with organization and structure.
How excited, I hate to ask this kind of dumb question, but if Connor was to win a race, I think I could probably, from my house over here, hear his mother scream. I saw her screaming, and he was in Europe somewhere. The excitement of having your son in the Premier American Series, probably one of the most competitive and overall best series in the world, competing's got to be exciting.
Oh, I mean, without a doubt. I mean, I get nervous on race day. When we finish the Wish TV broadcast, there's an hour between that and the start of the race. I go out to the pit lane, I stand there, and I look around, and I just try and take it all in and absorb it. I get chills, because you cannot be emotionally neutral when you stand on the grid at the start of the Indy 500 and then see your son get strapped in. And so when he drove the Smithfield car 2 years ago, whenever it was, when I went on fire in the first lap, I was by myself on the top of the Formula One suites because I wanted to see them going to turn one. And I actually saw it on the screen, and I saw his car on fire, and I knew what I was looking at, but I couldn't process that his car was on fire. I couldn't believe the thing was on fire, and he hadn't taken the green flag yet. And I just stood there in silence and in shock. Never spoke to anybody, never got on the radio, never went back to the suite, nothing. I just had to sit there for a while, because remember, these people, drivers, dedicate their lives. This is not a hobby or a sport. It's a lifestyle that's wrapped around a sport. So and an event that big, but believe it or not, when you emotionally test someone like that, it becomes part of his growing, because it'll happen again. And I remember Jackie Stewart always said, emotions can kill you in a racing car. You have to learn how to be emotionally numb in a racing car. That might have been one of those days when he learned the hard lesson of how to become emotionally numb in a racing car.
Oh, here, Buddy Lazaro turned 50 on Halloween this year. Okay.
Will he wear a costume?
I was just thinking the same thing. Well, I tell you what, I always enjoy when you have the time and take the time to come and visit. I appreciate it.
And I brought you a gift. This is for you.
Ooh.
See, am I sucking up to you or what?
I'm getting, somebody's calling. They want a copy of it already. Where can this book be?
Well, just in case you asked that question, I brought these cards also, which you're free to come and take. The book is only $10. And so you can get it directly from the publisher. I have the cards here, Octane Publishing, which is a big motorsports publisher. And enjoy the very easy read. And you'll see here the principles that I discuss, and you'll see how corporate America can just latch right onto our sport.
And I bet they do, because you spend a lot of time traveling around making speeches.
Yeah, but they pay me.
Oh, that's the
That's the reason.
I thought it was out of the kindness of your heart. Oh.
I was in Hawaii 3 times last year.
Oh.
But I hate to tell you, one time I was only there for 18 hours.
Oh.
It's a long way to go for 18 hours.
And it took you probably close to that much
to get there.
And back.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time. I thank you for the book. I will make sure people take the card, get it. If you haven't read his first one, get it. It's a good one. You'll enjoy it. We'll be
Thank you.
We'll be looking for your son doing well in May.
So will I. Thank you.
Watch for him on Wish TV, Mr. Daerek Daly. My next guest, or guest anyway, well, they're both here. They were back playing pinochle in the back, I think. As they get on their way back, please, tonight's program is also brought to you by Sam Pierce Chevrolet in Daleville, Indiana. You got to come to the country to see why the best prices are, in fact, in the country at Sam Pierce Chevrolet. And you'll also see why he is always at or near the top of customer satisfaction. Just take I-69 north to exit 34, go south 1 mile, and you won't miss him. Sam Pierce Chevrolet. And if you would like to take a ride in the Indy Racing Experience 2-seater, the greatest ride for people, and find out why these guys like driving these cars and gals, call and make a reservation. Go to IndyRacingExperience.com, find a date that works for you. They run here at the Speedway, and then they run around the country wherever IndyCar is. You can call and make a reservation. Number 317-243-7171, extension 106. Talk to Shonda. Tell her that you heard it from me, and you'll get a 20% discount on the ride. Well worth that, I can assure you. And if it's time to get insurance, do what I did. Do what a lot of us have done. Call VP Insurance and Speedway. Mike Pardee can handle anything. From commercial buildings to cars to your house, whatever you need, Mike Pardee and VP Insurance has. Give him a call. His number is 317-248-0070. Get a quote. You might be surprised. Better coverage for less money. They're located at 5004 West 16th Street in the beautiful town of Speedway. And this weekend, the 28th to the 30th, is at Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California. It's the 2017 Southern California Historic Sports Car Festival. If you're anywhere out there, LA, Manhattan Beach, wherever it is, get there and take a look. You'll see some fabulous, fabulous cars. And if you have a kid 9 years old and want to give them a ride in a 2-seater, they have what's called a Victory Lap. You can call the same number, 317-243-7171, extension 101. Schedule a ride, or they're out there most every day that the track isn't being used. Just go out and sign up, mention my name, and the photo you get at the end of the ride is free. Now, what else? Oh, you got to do yourself a favor. If you like vintage cars, you got to go to svra.com and subscribe to the Vintage Racing Quarterly. It's a great magazine, first class, and it tells you a lot about the cars that you know and love. They're still around. They're still running. And they now have a Trans Am magazine since SVRA bought an interest in Trans Am. And Trans Am is going to be running here when SVRA is in town. So check it out. Subscribe to the magazine. You'll be glad you did. Now, my next two guests. I hate when I invite Dave because he goes and he gets all dressed up. He goes out of his way to be here, and I'm thrilled by it. He has made a career out of making people laugh and pointing out how silly we really are. He spent 11 years on the road touring comedy clubs. He had a comedy club down in Greenwood, and a plane crashed into it trying to get in the door without paying the ticket. He is now the manager for the American Legion Post 500 on Georgetown Road, right across from the Speedway. He's a great guy. We'll find out how he used to sneak under the fence at the Speedway to watch him practice after school. Please welcome Mr. Dave the King Wilson.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And sitting next to him is a gentleman that I'm very pleased to have here. He is an Emmy-winning television producer. He started early on with ESPN when they first came on and was a producer of the Thunder series, which was hugely successful. He has produced most everything in sport. I even talked to him, tried to get him here one day, and he said, I'm out in the ocean. We got a race out in the ocean, and I'm producing that. Now, how you do that in the water is beyond me, but that's what he does. He's also involved now in theatrical production. We'll find out about that. He is an Emmy-nominated and awarded producer on television, and he works for NBC Sports Network and produces that. One of the best in the business. Please welcome Mr. Terry Lingner.
Thank you. Thank you.
When you got hooked up with ESPN, Terry, did you ever envision you would get to this level? I mean, obviously you wanted to.
You know, I thought we had a pretty good shot right from the start. Really, it just seemed like there was so many things that were falling into place that really could turn into something special. I've said it before. For those of you that have never been to beautiful Bristol, Connecticut, there was not much else for us to do except really work hard. And you know, most of us that were there really early on slept there, or we were constantly on the road. It just felt like there was a lot of energy. Cable was you know, definitely on the radar. A lot of smart people were being brought in. A lot of people that taught me my craft already had produced Super Bowls and had multiple Emmy awards. The inventor of the instant replay was one of my bosses. So I think when you put, you know, it's like what Daerek was just saying. When you put great people around you, you know, shame on us if we weren't successful.
And, you know, a lot of people don't realize Terry and his gang Lingner group invented like cameras on the roll cage at the sprint and midgets races at Raceway Park, and the cameras in the track. That was all done first by Lingner Group back at Raceway Park, if I'm not mistaken, in the early 90s.
Thank you.
Was that you I saw chiseling a little notch in the track so you could mount a camera? Was that you?
I was out there doing. Yeah, I'd love to get my hands dirty for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, you know, a funny story about that, and for all of you that know the track really well, I was going underneath the tunnel that many times has a little bit of water in it, but I was walking over to the infield, and I think I'm a visual kind of thinker, and I was, as I was going through, I was listening to the sprint cars going over my head, and I thought, well, how cool would it be if you had like a periscope? You know, you'd have an operator that had and then he could pull the camera down. And I mentioned that to an engineer of ours, Jamie Fishman, my partner Randy Fishman's brother. And you know, you just love it when people, when you try and percolate an idea. I'll be damned if he didn't come back in 2 days and said, you know, I think I have it figured out. And you just, that is such a cool thing when you know, people that are really great engineers said, I think we can do this. And then ESPN gave us a little money to experiment, and you know, this was 1991.
You must have been one of the ones that developed a small camera, because if I remember right, at that time there weren't little tiny ones like you use, so somebody had to design something specifically.
Well, there was a group originally, and they're still in the business today, and they're the market leaders. We had a chance to work with them. They're called BSI now, but at the time I can't even remember their name. But you know, you're always looking for ways to be able to experiment and bring the viewer closer. And you know, if you're not trying to push forward, then why do it? So,
Dave, I've often wondered, why do you push forward? I mean, let's be serious. Now, you have said on a number of occasions that as a youth after school, instead of going home doing your homework, which you didn't need to do,
Right.
you snuck under the fence and watched what was going on. Now, I'd like to see you get under the fence. Well,
Right.
maybe not today. But
Well, I never snuck under the fence because I was afraid I'd get caught and never let back in. So I started going to, the first time I was at the Speedway was March of '63. My dad, it was tire tests. And my dad said, he came home, he goes, you want to go watch him run? I said, sure. So we went over and parked outside the main gate, which were the only place that let you watch at that time, walked up into Grandstand E and saw the inside of the track for the first time. And it's like, boom. I mean, I grew up right there at 30th and Georgetown, but I'd never seen the inside of the Speedway. And I think everybody, the first time you walk in the infield, you see the inside of that place. It's embedded on your brain. And then all of a sudden, here comes Eddie Sachs by in this red and yellow Roadster. And I was like hooked. I was 8 years old. And so everything after that, starting at about 1965, after I'd get out of school, we'd get on our bikes, drive to the track, lock them up outside of gate 1, into the infield. We'd be there by 4:30 every day. Every day. And I was that way till I never missed a day anything until '73 when I was a senior in high school. But I've been to every 500 since '67, so this will be my 51st. And my whole life has been about that place, driving up and down Georgetown Road, going, my grandparents, I grew up in Eagledale, there at 30th and Georgetown. Grandma and Grandpa lived on 15th Street, so we're always going up and down Georgetown. And I remember when I was 3 and 4, I kept thinking, man, when are they going to finish that building? Because those grandstands look to me like an unfinished building. And then March of '63 also stands out to when I first got glasses. And yeah, because here's how I
we
know.
go.
Because I got glasses because the blimp flew over, and I said, Dad, look, somebody's written Goodyear on the side of the blimp. But all those years I looked up and couldn't see the Goodyear written on the blimp. So I love the track, and I've been a part of it. I've been in the media since '81, off and on. So I'm in the Old Timers Club, and I'll be back again this year helping Bob and Tom a little bit. And then on the radio network again, where I'm everybody's favorite correspondent. Nobody wants to see me on race day because I cover the garage and the hospital. So that means you've either crashed or you're broke or something, and when you see Dave, it's bad news.
Yeah, but you're back there with all the food, and I mean, you can relax until something
No.
goes haywire.
No. Here, let me tell you a story. I'm sitting back there in the garage area. It is barren. There is nobody back there when the race is on, right? So I'm sitting there on a golf cart underneath the Sunoco gas station things in the shade, waiting for something to happen, listening, laughing at myself because I go, Wally's got to pay me, and I'm just sitting here. Oh, you know, not bad for a kid from Northwest. So I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden this good-looking gal comes walking around the edge of the garages. And she's one of them gals they'd hired.
Did you have your glasses on?
No, I didn't. I didn't need
Okay.
the glasses back then to notice that. And so she's one of the gals that, you know, the companies hire that morning to, you know, dress in a skimpy outfit and promote their products and all. So I see her turn, and she's walking down. And, again, there's nobody around. And she looks up, she sees me, and she starts veering, walking towards me. And I'm thinking, well, she's probably seen one of my stand-up comedy shows or heard me on the radio or watched me on television, or maybe she wants to know where her favorite driver is in the race. And she walks right up to me, and I pull the headset off, and she goes, the women's restroom over here is overflowing. If you could get somebody on that. And no problem, ma'am. So, yeah, I'm a big star back there, Don. It's me and all the big stars back there just waiting for the beautiful girls.
What was it like touring the country doing stand-up night after night after night?
It was a dream come true that, you know, I could make money telling jokes. And I was on you'd be on the road. I lived in L.A. for 4 years. You'd be on the road 45 to 48 weeks a year.
Good.
I mean, and it's just you. It's not like you're in a band or with a bunch of guys. You just, you know, you're here this week and there next week, and boom, 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 boom. And it was, I got paid to tell jokes. I mean, it was just phenomenal. And worked with a lot of great people, worked with Jay Leno a lot, and we had a ball, had a great time, great stories with Jay. And worked with Tim Allen and Drew Carey and blah, 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 blah. And it was just, it was fabulous. Living in Los Angeles was cool, but I just got tired of being gone. And I always made it back to Indianapolis in May for the week before the race and to attend the 500, but the rest of the time I was gone. But I just got tired of being gone, so packed it up in Los Angeles and moved it back here in March of '91, and went back on Bob and Tom show all the time. I started with them in '83 when they came to Indianapolis, and then started helping them with their race coverage, and opened one-liners in December 31st, 1992, and went forward. But gosh, it was a dream come true. I was blessed.
But you played a character on Bob and Tom, where you did a character of Elvis.
I did the King.
The King, and thus you have been stuck with that moniker, because whenever I see him, I say, "Here's the King," and he looks around. Who the hell knows?
Well,
him?
here's what happened. When Bob and Tom, I started doing stand-up for real in 1983, February of '83, and Bob and Tom came to town right about that time, and I started doing stand-up, and in 3 months I had 8 minutes worth of jokes. And Tom saw me at an open stage one night. He goes, "Hey, you're funny. Why don't you come on the show in the morning?" I said, "Sure." So I went on the Bob and Tom show first time in like March or April of '83, and that first morning I did all 8 minutes of my jokes. And when the show was over, Tom said, "Man, that was great. Come back next week." And I went, taking me 3 months to write that. So if you have a character like Elvis, it's easier to write jokes for a character than it is for somebody people don't know. For example, if I said, "Man, I was 20 years old till I found out gravy wasn't a soft drink," you're thinking, what? But if Elvis goes, "Oh, Myron, I was 20 years old, I found out gravy wasn't a soft drink." Oh, thank you very much. Bingo. So it was just easier to write jokes for that. And that was the first thing that really caught on with Bob and Tom was the King. And, oh, Lord, we had so much fun in the garage area in the 80s on the Bob and Tom show. And we were back there with Bob. A lot of you guys know Bob Eastman Moon, who
Yeah.
he does the world's best Foyt impersonation, the best. So we were on Bob and Tom one morning, King versus King, AJ versus the King. And I was going, "Oh, man, King." I said, "Baby, let's back up, have a belly bucking contest right here in the garage area. Then let's lay on the floor and see whose belly button holds the most gravy." And then I found out right about then is when Foyt, and they had it on in Foyt's garage, he goes, "Shut that off." And AJ's never really been kind to me since.
You know, Terry, as a production man, you do the NBC Sports Network telecast of IndyCar. You're sitting in a trailer, you've got a bunch of screens in front of you. How exciting is the racing for you sitting there looking? And you're the guy, you hear him talking about, we're out there, we're going to talk to somebody, we hear somebody in the ear, it's you. But what do you get to see?
Well, you know, it was interesting. I was talking today to Katie Hargett, who's kind of new to the scene, and she's working really hard, doing a great job. I love mentoring.
She's been here a couple times.
Yeah, I've mentored. I'm trying to mentor her, and I was telling her about one of the times we threw down this weekend, and I said, you know, you got to really remember, I'm going to get you there, but then I got to trust you after that because I have to be ahead of you. You know, and it's the old adage that I have to make television. I can't watch it. So essentially, just to answer your question, is like once I know the traffic and I say, Katie, you're going to take it next. You're going to go ahead and talk about Rossi, and then you throw to Marty. I have to think about what Marty's doing next, and just always be ahead of the telecast and looking at the data and trying to figure out who's moved and get my commercials in. It's it's you know, I've been doing it a long time. It's still as exciting as it's ever been. You know, there's nothing like our sport. I think golf might be as challenging because there's so many things going on at once, but it's pretty hard to beat the thrill it is and the joy I get from trying to do a good job for IndyCar racing.
Can I tell a quick story? Terry was kind enough to hire
or
me.
go-kart racing.
Well, go-karts. I did the thing on go-karts, but he also let me work on ESPN's The Thursday Thunder Series and the Fastmaster Series, which a lot of you might remember, which I know a lot of us have different remembrances of that. But anyway.
I had hair when that started.
Yeah, that was. He still has nightmares of a starter stand exploding in the wood anywhere. But anywho, Paul Newman was going to drive one time for us, and of course the word was, look, Paul Newman will talk about anything you want except movies. Don't talk about movies with Paul Newman. Well, I thought, you know, probably one of the other guys would get him, but pit reporters, I probably would never have to talk to him, so I didn't prepare like I should. So, anywho, Paul Newman drives her down into turn one, misses a corner, puts that jack in the middle of the mud.
Go get him, Dave.
Yeah, and Terry's and Mayor go, good him, Wilson's, oh, good Lord. So I'm running after him, and he's trying to haul tail. He's trying to get out of there. He's embarrassed. He didn't want to talk to anybody. I grab him just before he gets to his dressing room, and Mr. Newman, would you talk to us? No, I don't really want to. Come on, you know the fans like to hear you. Okay, and of course right then Terry goes, we're going to break, 90 seconds. Crap. So I'm standing there face to face with Paul Newman. I go, what the heck do I say to Paul Newman? And so I said, you know, back in 1969, I sat in the stands when you guys shot winning. and Terry's going, Wilson, I told you not to talk about movies. And I got a photo. Somebody took it right about then of Newman looking at me like I was like, who in the hell are you and what are you doing here? But Terry put up with a lot of crap with a lot of people for a lot of years and let us learn on the fly, and I'll never forget that.
I watched this weekend, obviously, from home. But the first race of the year, there was a lot of people came in and said, man, there are a lot of commercials. Good grief, they go 2 laps in a commercial. Why? Did NBC drop the rate something so that people bought into it? There's a lot of commercial breaks. Got to keep you busy trying to keep up with what's going on. Take a commercial break.
Which, this weekend? Or
No, I didn't notice it that bad. But
this weekend wasn't bad. I mean,
the opening race.
Well, that was ABC.
That's right. They were even worse. They're bad.
Yeah, the network. ABC. Yeah, might have a couple of more positions than we do. Honestly.
Is NBC happy with IndyCar?
Yeah. They're trying real hard to be respectful on whatever Mr. Miles is thinking, but they're wanting to be real aggressive about continuing.
The thing that disturbs me a little bit, and I've been accused of being disturbed before, is...
Of course you have.
Thank you. Is...
I got to compete.
You're doing good, boss. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Now I forgot what I was going to
Thank you. How have you been?
I'm doing great, Terry.
Good.
You know, it's always nice to come here, McGilvery's, and just hang out while Don muddles to himself. It's very nice.
Oh, look, Don Kay's here.
Don Kay came in. When did he show up? Crying out loud! That's amazing. You never know who you're going to run
That's
into.
the crap you have to put up with, with me in their ears. I do like to keep it light.
Yeah.
So do we. Did I hear an observer making some comment over there? There's going to be some observing going on here, sport. Let me see. Well, I'll back up. Where the heck was I? I don't even know now. I forgot. I'm so excited to know I'm here that I forgot what I was going to say.
That's pretty good.
The sad thing about what you do, actually not sad, you are an Emmy Award-winning producer, but you don't get the best actor or actress or supporting. You're in the technical world, and most people don't even show that. If they do, they pass it on. Here's Terry Lingner, and they bring out. But your accomplishments are unbelievable. I mean, the awards you've won for what you've done, the Lingner Group has done, is phenomenal. And it's got to be great to be recognized for what you do and the effort you put in to accomplish it.
Humbled. Thank you for saying that. But I mean, it's just a girth of fantastic people that have been involved in my career, and I don't even want to even come close to being in the first person. There's so many great folks, and Dave knows them all as well. I just, it's I think leadership is about team building and trying to get people to buy into a particular vision, and I'll just even say it here. It's like one of the people that was always mopping up for me for the last 25 years, almost 28 years, Jenny Nickel, who, is just a giant, always at my side, passed away, tragically at Toronto. And I'm probably never going to get over that. So, it's just super people trying to pull in the same direction. Sorry, getting choked up.
No, that's fine. Your son is in the theater. And he's been in several plays there, and somehow he mentioned, Dad, they're looking for some producers, and you stepped forward. Are you into that, or you were just in and out, or are you?
In and out. Just still had the experience with On the Town, and he just started Sunday. They opened up with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which is right across from Hamilton. He's living a nice life, but he's worked hard, and yeah, it's real similar. I mean, it's all about entertainment. It's all about being good at what you do, and not worrying about watching the clock. And those are the I think the qualities that it takes to be successful in any endeavor.
Well, I think people have the misconception, and a lot of people, they think, oh, he's a star or she's a star. What a great life. It ain't that great. There's a lot of work involved, and if you start moving up the ladder, people recognize you. To sit down and have a meal sometimes is not all that easy.
Sure.
So, it takes a lot of effort to get on stage in New York, particularly on Broadway, no less. And it's got to be fun. I know you get out there, I don't know, frequently, but I've called several times, and they say,
I'm there
well,
a
he's
lot.
up in New York.
Yeah.
It's got to be fun to sitting in the audience and say, that's
gosh.
my son.
Yep. Yeah, there's again, you're throwing some daggers here at my heart, but there's nothing like seeing an entire theater jump to their feet for your kid. It's pretty good. And
to realize that he went to school, and you thought, what's he doing tonight? He was working, he studied, and it's paid off.
Yep.
So your effort to get him there was worth it.
So far, so good.
That's
yep.
Great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Dave, my friend, I used to love it when you were part of the IMS Radio Network. You and Mark James, these two guys could say something funny just that quick, and they'd go back and forth, and I couldn't get out of the trailer because I'd be laying on the floor. That was more fun to listen to the two of you, and in fact, the whole group was pretty good. Do you miss traveling with them?
Oh yeah, but things change, and I was honored to be a part of it, for crying out loud, and since 2003. And Buddy McAtee came to me and said, "We want you to be on the radio network." I go, boy, are you kidding me? Yeah. And I mean, it was great, and I traveled with them through the 2008 season, and then they had to cutbacks. I mean, that's the kind of what I talk about, is that for a long time I had 3 full-time jobs. I did afternoon drive on WIBC, and then I did one-liners and Wilson's down in Greenwood, That's a full-time job, running that comedy club, bar, restaurant. And then I traveled with the IRL all over the country and things like that. And then at one point, Peggy and I decided that we've had enough of the bar business, and we closed down one-liners. And then 2 months later, I got a call from Wally of the radio network. He said they want me to cut back, and I said, well, cut me, take me off the traveling squad, because I don't, I still have a full-time job. I don't depend on this dough like the other guys do. And so he cut me off the traveling squad, and then 2 months later, I got fired at WIBC. So now I'm a career counselor,
I got to tell you,
passing along my wisdom.
I don't know if I want to thank you for this or not, but my wife scheduled my surprise 40th birthday
Right.
only a couple years ago.
Yeah.
At Dave's place. Oh my gosh, that was so much fun.
Well,
what I
thank you.
remember of it.
But
But it was so. And I had to go to New York the next day. It was on a
Yeah.
Thursday, and I had to go to produce the NASCAR banquet at the Waldorf. That was ugly. It was really bad.
That was my gift to NASCAR Cemetery. They're liquored up.
Completely. Yeah. That was so ugly.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
Dave,
What a great club.
Thank you.
did you? How does somebody become funny? I mean, your mind has to click. The minute you think of something, I mean, you would, and Mark is the same way. You'll say something, he'll come back and go, geez, where the heck did he come up with that?
Well, I think it's a muscle that the more you use it, the better you get, and the more comfortable you are in a situation. When you're at ease, it's easier to ad lib than if you're tense and all wound up. So that's why if you're going to go do a big TV spot, then you practice, you rehearse that 6-7 minutes, whatever, over and over and over. So no matter what distractions or what happens, you know how to say it. So it's just a matter of doing it and being comfortable, and practice helps you get better at doing it.
How long does it take you to write? Say, if you're going to, I hire you to come to a club for 30 minutes. How long does it take you to write the
Wow,
jokes?
Well, it depends. I mean, sometimes an idea comes to you, you just write it, and then sometimes you come up with a premise, and you have to go backwards, and that's a little more difficult. And in stand-up, you have to get the words right. You got to cut all the words out that you can't have too many words in it. You have to have it where you put it in your act, start, middle, end. Depends on how successful that joke might be. So a lot of it is just you have to get on stage and do it. I started doing stand-up in '83, and then in 1986, I did 424 shows. I was on stage every night of the week except Christmas night, 7 days a week, all year long. Missed one day, Christmas Day, and I did Christmas Eve. It was that the usher was Satan, party of four, right this way. Well, welcome to the Wilson show. On stage in horns, but yeah, you got to do it and do it and do it and do it. And I went from an opening act with about 15 minutes to being able to headline with 45 or 50. So you just got to pound and pound and pound. You got to wanna real bad.
We were out in, I was in Manhattan Beach or Long Beach. This was 5 or 6, 7 years ago, and I had a shirt on. It says Indy Racing in Indianapolis. And we're sitting in a restaurant, and the bartender says, "Are you from Indianapolis?" Yeah. I know a guy from Indianapolis. Well, so do I. Maybe you know him. Give me a shot. Dave Wilson. Yeah. You're kidding. You know Dave Wilson? The King? You betcha I do. I used to work. He said, I do stand up, and I used to work with him. So I said, you want to talk to him? Yeah. So I called. Of course, you didn't answer, naturally. I left you a
I got
message.
caller ID, Don. Sorry. I'm teasing. It's not true at all. I don't have caller ID.
Wasn't Danny K.
Yeah, wasn't Danny K.
Well, I found that interesting. All the way at Manhattan Beach, California, a guy said, "You know Dave the King Wilson?"
Yeah.
Really?
Sometimes being a D-level celebrity can be inconvenient. About 2 years ago, I had some heart trouble, so I'm in the hospital. And they decided they wanted to do a heart cath. Well, I'm concerned, you're nervous about it. And the doctor says, "Oh, we do thousands of them a year. It's no big deal. It's a twilight sleep. You won't have any troubles." So they wheel me in this room, and still I'm apprehensive. I'm scared about this whole thing. And they put me over on this table, and they start strapping me down, and there's doctors and nurses running around. And you know how if you've been in a hospital 100 times a day, they name and birthday. So guy is standing there, he goes, "What's your name and birthday?" I said, "David Wilson, 1/22/55." And the guy stopped. He looks down at me. He goes, "Did you own a comedy club down in Greenwood?" True story. So I'm strapped with my arms like this, and I go, yeah. And then this little nurse comes around and she sticks her head right in my face. She goes, "You're the king." Yeah. She goes, "Do it." I said, "Do what? What?" And she goes, "The who thing." Well, let me tell you, this is an audience you don't want to disappoint. So I'm laying on Gertie going, "Huh, huh, huh," you know, whatever you want, you tell me. So they knock me out, and I go under, and the next thing I know, I'm waking up, and I hear the doctor going, "Great news, no blockages, oh good." Oh, thank God. And I can hear him and feel him. They're taking me, unhooking me and sliding me around. And all of a sudden, that same little nurse comes out and puts her head right in my face. She goes, I swear it's the truth, she goes, "Tell us a joke." So I did. I go, "Oh, man, boy, the allergies were bad in my neighborhood this year, weren't they?" "Oh, yeah, my local meth dealer was converting his stash back to Sudafed." A chemistry joke. That's not bad when you're coming out of sedation, right?
That's funny.
Oh, my gosh. So, anywho, then they were all laughing, and I got to leave. Yeah.
Did you get a discount? Did they pay you?
No, I didn't. I didn't want to install my 2-drink minimum in with the doctors and nurses in there. There's that vein.
Currently, you are the manager of the American Legion 500 post.
Peggy and I are the clubroom managers. We're honored to be there. It's a post with a tremendous history. Joe Olafson is a member and is a great supporter there and a longtime member. But my dad came home from Korea in 1953 and joined American Legion Post 196. Then it was converted to 500, but it was just a little red shack at 16th and Georgetown. And sometimes I think in the 60s they moved it to the location where it's at now. And we are honored to be there and helping it get back on its feet. It's been, the Georgetown Road closing has not helped us.
That didn't help.
We've had, we've lost about 300 members in 5 years that have passed away. So, and Marion County is not where a lot of the young veterans are settling. A lot of the American Legion posts in Hamilton County or Hancock County or Hendricks County are doing a lot better than we are because that's where all the young families are. So, but we're proud of what we do there, and we're able to help veterans, and that's what that place is all about, and we're happy to be a part of it.
And on Thursday nights, you have a little thing going on that I understand is over 14 Gs at the moment.
It's 15,500 something, but we
That's
have a
what I said,
treasure
over
hunt game.
14.
Yeah, that's open to the public. You can come and you can come in there and have something to eat and play the treasure hunt and maybe win 15 grand or so. Every tickets sell till 6:45 and the drawing's at 7:15.
That's 6:45. So I got 30 minutes to eat then.
Yeah, 30 minutes for us to bang you with other pull tab games and all other stuff.
Oh,
Pull tabs, which we do good on. But no, it's an honor to be there and be a part of that place. It's great history.
Do you do any stand-up anymore?
Yeah. We do shows there. Matter of fact, we're doing a show at the American Legion Post on Friday, May 5th with Ross Bennett, who's been on the Tonight Show and not the Tonight Show, but Late Night with David Letterman. He's a great story. Usually with stand-up comics, unless you're a big star, once you turn 30, the talk shows wouldn't talk to you. Leno, Letterman, none of them guys wouldn't talk to you. Well, Ross, I've known Ross since '84. He lived in New York. He kept hammering, and he got on Letterman's show about 6 months before he went off the air. And he's 60-something, so he's an amazing act, great friend. He's coming in. We're doing a Legion on Friday night. It's open to anybody, $12 a ticket. I'll be on the show, so go ahead and come anyway. And I'll hear a lot of the same jokes. It'll be like deja vu all over again for you. And then Saturday night, we're going down to Brown County, to the Brown County Playhouse in Nashville, Indiana. It's a 400-seat room. That's how I can afford to, have him come to the post. And so I'll be opening those shows and still doing Santa Claus, which is a lot of fun. Which is
but you gotta
Imagine
jump-
that.
Yeah, you got a jump start on Santa. He doesn't come for a while yet, but you're ready.
I'm ready, right? And still marrying people. That's a lot of fun. And
Really?
burying people. Yeah, marrying. Oh, yeah.
You're marrying.
Marrying. I don't dig the holes, but I do a lot of other stuff.
Well, are you in competition with the Honorable Howdy Bell? He does the same thing, actually.
Howdy does a lot of marrying, and he gets the higher ones. I get a lot of the low rent weddings. I got a wedding, a true story, another true story, at a VFW on the east side, and the wedding was supposed to start at 4:30. And all the people are in the VFW hall, and the groom and his groomsmen are all in there, and they're all in their tuxes, and they're wandering around. Well, 4:35, 4:40, and where's the bride? Well, then the guests start heckling the groom that his wife-to-be has run off and left him. Yeah, looks like your woman wised up there, Brad. I mean, swear to goodness. So about 4:45, this gal shows up, and she says, the bride wants to see you. Oh, good. So I go back where she's hiding, and she goes, good, thanks for being here, blah, blah, blah. But she goes, you know, when you get to that part of the wedding ceremony, we ask if there's anybody here that would object to this wedding. Don't do that part. Because if you do, his whole family is going to raise their hands. Yeah, I don't get the kind of caliber weddings that Howdy gets. I get.
Oh, gosh.
Well, and this is motorsports.
That's right, racing. I
It's
can't.
cool racing.
Yeah, can't wait for May, my 51st, and I'll be back in the garage area again and working with Wally and the gang, and that is so much fun. That
I'll
is,
tell you what,
a true honor.
if I can somehow commandeer a sandwich at you, I'll come back and see you. So you're not there, and I won't ask you about the women's John or anything. Well, just bring a sandwich along.
Okay. Well, anytime. I mean, I'm just walking around back there.
The other thing, everybody knows this, but you know, I have to give a shout out to him and John Andretti and Big Joe Snezdiak for all they do for racing for Riley.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
That's the important stuff, you know.
How many years have you and John been doing that?
It'll be 21 years this year. Be our 21st. We're almost at $4 million in donations
Unbelievable.
to the hospital. And we've never had a foundation or anything. Every penny that's raised, every check that's taken, every dollar that comes in goes straight to the Riley Children's Hospital Foundation. All the
Unreal.
expenses were basically paid for by John because he's got the most dough. And then me and Big Joe help out when we can. But John Andretti does that and does the visit. I mean, he's put the sponsorship where it's at. He works his tail off on it, and we're proud to be a part with him there and John. But yeah, 21 years. It just started as a little kind of an afterthought on my show, and I kept making fun of Matt. John would call in every Tuesday, and Matt would make fun of him because, oh, this week that happened, or oh, this week that happened. Okay, well, when John comes to town in December to see his family, then we're going to go out to what was Stefan Johansson's there on Lafayette Road, and we'll just see how you do racing against John. Of course, Matt with his bravado was a great. Of course, he got his butt kicked, and it was a lot of fun. And then we moved eventually out to Mark Dismore's in Newcastle, which is a fabulous facility. But it just grew. And the first year we raised $3,600, and now we're doing $350,000 to $400,000 every year. And that's I think Republic Airlines is going to come on board and help us out. So that's going to give us another big shot in the arm. Kroger once you show somebody and tell them about Riley, or they go through that hospital and they see the work that's done there, that there's just no way. I mean, and most of us have been touched by Riley Hospital in some way with a member or a family member or a friend or something like that. And to sit there when I used to do my radio show on the air there, and I talked to a doctor that when he got done doing my dumb little show was going to go up and operate on a baby that was 3 days old. It was born with only 3 chambers in its heart. I mean, how do you put a dollar figure on it? You can't. And John would go up there in those rooms. I remember Bobby the Brain Heenan, the wrestling manager, was in town one time. He did my show. Hey, Bobby, tomorrow we're going to be at Riley Hospital. And John Andretti, yeah, I know him. Well, he's going to be going and get a tour of the rooms for the kids that can't come down in the lobby for the party. Will you go with him? He said, sure. So here comes Bobby the Brain Heenan, so hilarious, so funny, great guy, got all these cards he's going to sign. He lasts 10 minutes and has to leave. He's crying. It's so hard. But John does that not only once a year, but he would go up there just whenever he was in town and just walk through there and brighten up the day for a kid or a family or something like that. And it's hard. I don't know how he did it, but he still does it. So it's an honor to be a part of that and to make life worthwhile, for crying out loud.
And the fact that 100% of the money goes there.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Now, I've heard the rumor that you work cheap, but boy, I didn't realize that cheap.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me? Can I tell a quick story about Bobby the Brain Heenan? I'm sorry. I got a microphone here, but I just go nuts. I got Bobby the Brain Heenan on here. I got Bobby the Brain Heenan on my show, and we're taking calls. And this guy calls in, he goes, hey, Bobby, you ever been hit you ever been hitting the head with a chair? And he goes, if I've been hitting the head with a chair, the top of my head smells like ass. Just trying to raise the level of your show up a little, Don, there. God, it's killing me.
Well, I don't know what. I don't know how to end on that one. But what I will say is this. These two gentlemen have always been cooperative. In fact, Terry showed up one night. I had asked, are you available? And he said yes or something. I didn't say anything. I'm getting ready to start. I turn around. Here he comes in. He said, you need me? I said, no, I didn't say anything. Oh, okay, I got something else to do, so he left. But to have this gentleman who does what he does and what he's has done and what he's accomplished, and to come here, I'm thrilled. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Terry Lingner. And what in the world do you say about the king, other than maybe shut up? But
Don, you can't tell me what to do. You're not my dog.
Thursday nights on Georgetown Road at the American Legion 500, there's over $15,000 that could be won by somebody. It probably won't be me, but give it a whirl. Can't tell. Actually, the guy who would win if he went, he's too cheap to go, would be Howdy. He'd win easy. He's got money. He's got money. Stewart who?
Yeah, I know you do. I'm sorry for you, Howdy.
Some people
That's your penance. That's your penance right there, Howdy. I don't know what the priest said to you. 10 Hail Marys and sit next to Don Kay. I guess that was it.
Yeah, but Howdy's glad I sit next to him because he starts to doze off. I catch him. He doesn't fall on the floor. All right. Terry, I can't thank you enough. I appreciate it. Good job, good work. Always fun to talk to you. Thanks for coming. I'll invite you again down the road. Yeah. And the king? There's only one king. Dave the King Wilson.
I don't know.
Thanks everybody for sticking around. Next week, my first scheduled guest is Jack Harvey. I'll make sure that happens. If anybody wants one of Daerek's cards, they're up here for you. Help yourself to one. And I can assure you a $10 book, it'll be more than worth it. This is it. So until next week, Don Kay saying thanks for listening, thanks for watching, thanks for being here. Good night.